Gimel Yud Gimel Yud Bet.
You can hear it?
Yeah, okay. I don't really bother me. It's fine.
Okay. Well, go
Gimel
ahead.
Yud Bet. Gimel
Give me
Yud Bet.
case. I'll mute until it's my turn to speak.
Okay, no, it's okay. All right. All right. How do they flog him? He binds his two hands on the post on either side, and the attendant of the congregation seizes his garments. If they tear, they tear, and if they split open, they split open, until he bares his chest, and the stone is placed behind him. The attendant of the congregation stands upon it with a calfskin strap in his hand, doubled one into two and two into four.
Eliezer, hold on a second. I think you have jumped. Uh, yes, you've gone into the new Mishnah for a start. So let's go
Okay.
back to Gimel Ches.
Gimel Tet.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, Gimel Tet.
He was being matame to the mason.
Okay. If he kept contaminating himself with corpses all day, he is liable only once. If they said to him, "Do not contaminate yourself, do not contaminate yourself," and he kept contaminating himself, he's liable for each one. If he kept shaving all day, he's liable only once. And if they said to him, "Do not shave, do not shave," and he kept shaving, he's liable for each one. If he kept wearing kalayam all day, he is liable only once. But if they said to him, "Do not wear it, do not wear it," and he kept taking it off and putting it on, he is liable for each one. There is a case in which one plows a furrow and is liable on account of its account for eight negative commandments. One who plows with an ox and a donkey, which are consecrated with kalayim in a vineyard, and during the sabbatical year and on the festival, and he is a kohen and a nazir in a tumah contaminated place. Kananya ben Katinai says, also one who was wearing kalayim, they said to him, "This is not for that reason." He replied, "Neither is nazir for that reason." How many lashes do we give him? 40 less one, as it is said in the number of 40, the number that is close to 40. Rabbi Yehuda says he flogged with the 40 full 40 lashes, whereas the extra one inflicted between his shoulders. Okay.
Right, now I can unmute.
Okay.
Okay. Ein umdimo so Erev Makkos are obviously Spanish. So first of all, the Mishnah starts off with the presupposition that you already know, that we have to estimate how much the person can actually suffer. Not everyone is going to be able to survive 39 lashes. So what they do is they have the health board looks at him and says, okay, he's a strong guy, he can take 39, or he's not so strong, he can only take 12 or 18 or whatever. And the Mishnah starts out by saying that we always take a multiple of 3. Right? Because we always have one to balance it out, one on the left, one on the right, one on the front. Okay. Amaduhu lekabel arba'im. So if they said that he can take 40, in other words, 39,
right,
and they started lashing him, and his condition goes downhill very quickly. And they say no, he can't have any more. Then immediately he's pater, he's had his lashes, and we're done. Okay. Or conversely, Amaduhu lekabel shmoneh. Let's say they said, okay, he's only fit for 18. Mishalaka, and now they've given him the 18, and he's still smiling. And they say, oh no, he could take the full 40. Pater, no, they've already said he must have 18. He's had his 18, and he stops over there. Now, what happens if a guy has done something that he was over 2 lavim, and he's tied 2 sets of malchus? So now, what they could do is they could judge him for everything altogether, or judge him once for one, and then let him recover, and then judge him for the second one. And really, what they should do is the latter. So what happens? What happens is Amaduhu Omed Echad. So if they said, okay, this guy can take 45 lashes. Okay, right. So then they start lashing him, and he's done. Or if they say that that between the two allow him, he can only take or whatever 30 lashes,
right.
And that's for both of them together. Then he's done. He doesn't get a second lot. But if they did it one at a time, then let him get lashes for one, finish off, recover, and then they drag him back to lash him again on the second one.
They really try very hard not to incur injury on them.
Yes,
yes, really,
very much so. Yeah. Okay, what's the procedure? Kofes shte yadav al ha'amud, helach v'helach. So they tie his hands to a post, which is a little less than his own height, on either side. V'chazan hakneses okes b'gadav, and the chazan of the knesses is not the guy who sings, the shamash, whoever basically the functionary of the court comes and pulls up his top. Im nikru, and if his top gets torn, im nifremu, and if it becomes disheveled, if the seams come out, that's too bad. Achu magale es libo. So he has to uncover the person's torso as that his heart is uncovered. And he's got a stone platform that he can stand on and behind. He stands on this platform. So the strap that he uses for the lashing is made out of calf leather, which is folded. So it's folded in four. So that's along the width. So the width is folded 4 times. So it's a thick strap. And the 2 straps which actually are of donkey leather. Now, there's a drasha on this that because the pasuk says Yada shor konehu v'chamor evos balav. The ox knows its master, and the donkey knows the trough of its master. Yisrael lo yada ami lo yisponeng. So it's an unflattering comparison between the Jews and the animals. The animals at least know who their master is, but Yisrael is disobeying Hashem. So the leather comes from these 2 animals, the donkey and the shor, and the ox. So it's a mixture of the two leathers that are woven together. It's calf hide that's sewn together by donkey hide.
Okay. It's not anything to do with Kilayim. Kilayim is.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that, but no. Kilayim is wool and linen. It's got nothing to do with leather.
Okay.
If you had to plow up the ox and the donkey together, that would be a problem. But taking leather and mixing that together,
that's okay. All right.
There's nothing against that.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay.
Yada tefach. So the handle of the strap is a tefach long enough for a grip. Veroch bat tefach, and the width is also a tefach. Verosha magas alpi kreso, and the end of the whip should be able to, when he whips the person, the end of it should reach down to his stomach. So basically it's adjustable. So the strap was actually adjustable. You could pull it down through the handle to make it longer or shorter, according to the dimensions of the person being whipped. So 1/3 of the lashes go over his shoulder onto his front, and 2 lashes on his back, one on the left, one on the right. And he's not standing and not sitting. The person being whipped must be crouched over, so that he's neither standing nor sitting. That the shofet should make him bend over. And when he whips with one hand with all of his force. You can get a lot more force by using one hand to smack something than with 2 in this circumstance here. Okay, that's it. I'm going to mute myself, and I'll unmute myself if you overshoot.
Do we have Gazora on this one? Wait, I have my tissue here at Aleph Vav. No, I missed it.
Aleph Hey.
So I took it out before. Okay.
Aleph Hey.
All right, here we go. Okay. If others came and they discredited him, and still others came and they discredited him too, even 100, all of them are executed. The Yehuda says this is a group of plotters, and only the first group is executed. Zoman witnesses are not executed unless the verdict has been delivered. But the Sadducees say unless he has been executed, as it is said, a life for a life. The sages said to him, has he not already stated, and you shall do to him as he planned to do to his brother, indicating that his brother is still alive? If so, why does it say a life per life? Because it might be thought that from the time their testimony is accepted, they may be executed. The Torah therefore states a life per life to teach that they are not executed unless a verdict has been issued. By the testimony of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall the one who is to die be put to death. Now the testimony may be established by 2. Why did Scripture specify by 3? It is to compare 3 to 2. Just as 3 can discredit 2, so 2 can discredit 3. How do we know that this is true, even for 100? To teach this, it states witnesses. Reb Shimon says, just as 2 are not executed unless both are proved zomamin, so too are 3 not executed unless the 3 of them have proved zomamin. How do we know that this is true even for 100? To teach this, it states witnesses. Rabbi Akiva says the 3rd witness is mentioned only for the purpose of dealing stringently with him and to make his sentence the same as these. Now, if Scripture punished one who joined the transgressors like the transgressors themselves, how much more will it reward the one who joins those who perform a mitzvah, the same as those who perform a mitzvah? Just as with 2
Now we're to Baba Basra.
Oh, I finished already. I finished already? Oh, okay. It's in here. Gotta open this door here. Let me see. Okay, come on in. It's crying like crazy. All right. Okay, tough solid. If brothers were partners and one of them happened to into a profession, it belongs to the common estate. If he fell in and was healed, he is healed from his own money. Brothers, some of whom gave groomsmen gifts during their father's lifetime, when the groomsmen's gifts are returned, they return to the common estate. For groomsmen's gifts are collectible in court. However, if one sent to another jars of wine or oil, they are not collectible in court because they were given as acts of kindness. If one sees wedding gifts to the house of his father-in-law, even if he sent 100 manna there, and he ate there a groom's meal worth at least a dinner, they cannot be reclaimed. If he did not eat a groom's meal there, they can be reclaimed. If he sent many wedding gifts on the understanding that they be returned with her to her husband's house, they could be reclaimed. If he sent few wedding gifts on the understanding that she can use them in her father's house, they cannot be reclaimed. If one is lying ill, wrote away all his property to others, but retained some property, his gift is upheld. If he did not retain any property, his gift is not upheld. If he did not record it, then he was lying ill, and it says that he was lying ill, whereas they say he was healthy, he must bring proof that he was lying ill. These are the words of Rameya. So they can come and say that one is acts from another must bring the proof. Okay. And then we have Kedushin. Okay, Kedushin. What happens? Okay, I have a Gimel test. Correct? Good. If one has 2 groups of daughters from 2 wives, and he said, I give my elder water in Kedushin, and I did not know it was the elder or the older ones, or the elder or the younger ones, or the younger or the older ones. Who is older than the elder of the younger ones? They are all prohibited, except for the younger of the younger ones. These are the words of Rav Meir. Rav Yossi says they are all permitted except for the elder of the older ones. If he said, I gave my younger daughter a Kedushin, and I do not know if it was the younger of the younger ones, or the younger or the older ones, or the elder of the younger ones, or who is younger than the younger or the older ones, they are all prohibited except for the eldest, the elder of the older ones, and these are the words of Rav Meir. Rav Yossi said they were all permitted except for the younger of the younger ones. These 2 seem like the opposite. Rav Meir and Rav Yossi, they're opposite each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point. Is that Rav Yossi is lenient on all of the ones who could possibly have been excluded, except for the one where it just has to be the youngest one.
Okay. If one says to a woman, I betroth you, and she says, you did not betroth me, he's forbidden to marry her relatives, but she is permitted to marry his relatives. If she says, you betrothed me, and he says, I did not betroth you, he was permitted to marry her relatives, but she is forbidden to marry his relatives. If he says, I betroth you, and she says, you betrothed my daughter, he is forbidden to marry the relatives of the elder. The elder is permitted to marry his relatives. He is permitted to marry the relatives of the younger one, and the younger one is permitted to marry his relatives. Okay. All right. We are on
One
Be'er.
more. We still got Yud Aleph to do there.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Did you do Yud Aleph already?
I didn't do Yud Aleph, no.
Okay, so go ahead and do Yud Aleph.
If a man says, I betrothed your daughter, and she says, you betrothed me, he is forbidden to marry the relatives of the younger, and the younger is permitted to marry his relatives. He is permitted to marry the relatives of the elder, and the elder is permitted to marry his relatives. Okay.
Okay. Hey.
The burning coal, as is the feet of its owner, but a flame can be taken anywhere. Using a coal belonging in the temple occurs a milek sacrifice, but concerning a flame that we may not use it, yet we do not incur a milek sacrifice. One who takes a coal out of a private domain to a public incurs a sin offering, but if one carries out a flame, he is exempt. The water in a pit belonging to a private individual, as is the feet of that individual. The water is one belonging to the people of that town, as is the feet of the people of that town. But the water in those set aside for the Babylonian pilgrims is at the feet of the one who draws the water. If one's produce was in another town and the people of that town made an error in order to bring some of the produce to him, they may not bring the produce to him, but if he made an error, his produce is as himself. Okay. Right.
The last one, let's do Zion as well.
Zion as well, right? If he invited guests, they may not take portions with them unless he has given them possession of their portions before Yom Tov. We may neither water nor slaughter range animals, and we may water and slaughter domestic animals. These are considered domesticated, those that pass the night in the town, range animals that pass the night in the pasture. Madrin halach.
Hadron Allah, Maseches Beitza, and tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, so we're starting today. Okay. All right. Okay, we have Peah. Peah, I have Daled Yud Aleph. Ant holes among the standing corn are the owners, and those after the reapers, the upper ones for the poor, the lower one for the owners. The mayor says all are for the poor, but doubt leket is leket. A heap under which a leket has not been gathered, whatever touches the ground belongs to the poor. And if the wind scattered the sheaves, they assess how much leket it would yield, and it gives it to the poor. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says it gives it to the poor as much as usually falls. An ear in the harvest top, whose top reaches the standing corn, if it is reaped with the standing corns, it belongs to the owner, and if not, it belongs to the poor. If an ear of a leket becomes mixed up in the heap, it takes miser from one ear and he gives it to him. But Eliezer said, how can this poor person exchange something which cannot come into his possession? Rather, he transfers to the poor person ownership of the entire heap, and he takes miser from the ear and gives it to him. Okay. Now we are on to Kinam. Okay, Gimel Dalet. There was a chatas bird and an ola bird, as well as an undesignated pair and a designated pair. If he made all of them above the red line, half of which of these pairs is valid, and half of each of these pairs is invalid. If he made all of them below the red line, half of these pairs is valid, and half of these pairs is invalid. If he made half of them above the red line and half of them below the red line, none is valid except for the undesignated pair, and that pair is divided between them. If the katos birds mingle with obligatory pairs, then only the number of katos birds of the obligatory pairs are valid. If the bird offerings in the obligatory pairs were twice as many as the katos birds, half of the offerings are valid and half are invalid. But if the katos birds were twice as many as the bird offerings in the obligatory pair, the number of offerings equal to the number of birds in the obligatory pairs are valid. Similarly, if all the birds mingle with an equal number of bird offerings in obligatory pairs, only the number of birds in the obligatory pairs are valid. If the bird offerings in the obligatory pairs were twice as many as the ola birds, half of the offerings are valid and half are invalid. If the ola birds were twice as many as the bird offerings in the obligatory pairs, the number of offerings equal to the number of birds in the obligatory pairs are valid. Or if a woman said, "It is hereby incumbent upon me to bring a pair of birds as donated olos when I give birth to a boy." If she gave birth to a boy, she must bring two pairs of bird offerings, and one pair for her vow and one for the obligation. If she gave them to a Kohen, and the Kohen is supposed to offer 3 birds above and red line and 1 below it. If he did not do so, rather he offered 2 of these birds above and 2 of them below, without inquiring, she must now bring 1 more bird, which like the Kohen should offer above the red line. This is the rule. If the 2 pairs were both of 1 species, if however they were of 2 species, she must now bring 2 additional birds. If she had specified the species of birds in which to fulfill her vow, she must now bring another 3 birds as olos. If this is the rule of the original 2 pairs were both of 1 species, if they were 2 species, she must now bring 4 additional birds as well. She has affixed her vow, she must now bring another 5 birds. This is the rule. If the original 2 pairs were both of 1 species, if they were of 2 species, she must now bring another 6 birds. If she gave them to a Kohen, but is not known what species of the birds she gave, and the Kohen went and offered them, but is not known exactly what he did with them, she must now bring another 4 birds for her vow. 2 more birds for the Olo and for a childbirth and obligation, and 1 katos for a childbirth obligation. Aza says she must bring 2 katos, but Yeshua says this is analogous to what people have said regarding a ram. When he is alive, his voice is 1, and when he is dead, his voice is 7. How is that his voice is 7 after he dies? His 2 horns can serve as 2 trumpets, his 2 thigh bones as 2 flutes, his hide for a drum, and his stomach for the second sounds of lyres, and his intestines for harp strings. And some say his will too can serve as the kalis. Rabbi Shimon ben Akaskia says elderly unlearned men, as they continue to age, their minds get more confused, as it is stated. He removes the speech of the capable and takes away the reasoning of the elderly. The elders of the Torah are not like that. Rather, they continue to age, their minds become even more settled, as it is stated, in the age is wisdom, and in length the days of understanding. Hey, I'm doing a lot.
Hajan Allah Maseches Kidim, Hajan Allah Seder Kodshim, and tomorrow we're on to Taros again with Kalim.
On to Taros?
Yep, we're Maseches Kalim starting tomorrow.
Okay, Kalim and Rosh Hashanah tomorrow. Speaking of